What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, I want to speak on a post I've seen about Larry Bird, and basically it was Shannon Sharp just giving Larry Bird his flowers, right? And so in the post, it says that at the very top it says Larry Bird was a different beast. I don't think people realize how talented Larry Bird was. He could score the basketball when the 3-point shot was not involved. He finished second in MVP race 3 straight years before he wheeled off and won 3 consecutive MVPs. He was dominant. And so all of that, right, I agree with. Definitely, no doubt, all of that I agree with. Larry Bird, man, he definitely was a beast, and he was unstoppable. But I do think that now where I kind of disagree with Shannon Sharp right here is that where he says that I don't think people really realize how talented Larry Bird was. And I don't agree with that. I think anybody who loves basketball, anybody who watched Larry Bird during those years when Larry Bird was playing, they know, you know what I mean? And then you can't really talk about like the history of basketball or anybody who played during that era without them guys just bringing up Larry Bird. Dominique Wilkinson, Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. Every time Larry Bird, Larry Bird name come up in just about every basketball discussion. Um, anytime people had you really can't leave Larry Bird out. So Larry Bird was that dude. When you listen to the older guys play or the people that played with him, people they just respected him because of how dominant Larry was and what Larry did. And one thing I recently found out about Larry Bird, and I really should have looked up, like, I think Larry Bird played about 12 years in the league, right? But I was listening to this documentary about Bird and Magic, and they say Bird only had 5 years where he like 5 healthy years. So for the majority of his career, Bird was plagued with like back problems, and he had an Achilles problem, right? Like the Achilles was like the final one, but for the most part, he had a bad back, and his back used to tighten up on him and stuff like that. And I do remember, like at the end of his career, he had that Achilles situation. His Achilles, and that's what basically stopped Larry Bird was injuries. Even when Larry Bird went to the when they went to the Olympics in '92, like in '92, Larry Bird was just a shell of himself in '92 when he played on the Dream Team, and so he was more like an ambassador. You know, he didn't really play. He didn't log heavy minutes because they really did. They were so stacked and so loaded that they didn't really need Larry Bird to log heavy minutes, and so he didn't. Now, if it had been a situation, I'm sure if they had needed Larry Bird, then he would have been, he would have stepped up and put in that work. But I just was amazed at the fact that Larry Bird only played five years, like 5 healthy years. Everything else, he was just gutting it out, and I knew he had back problems and a problem, with his Achilles, but I didn't realize it was only 5 healthy years. And so that's even more amazing when you think about the fact that, and he still didn't miss a lot of time, not until like the end, you know, wasn't no load management, and all that. If Larry was, if he was healthy, if he wasn't, they'll roll him right out there and he'll do his thing. Bad back and all. He'll just give you 30 points, 35 points with a bad back, rebounds and assists, hitting clutch shots, draining a three. And for him to do that in 5 healthy years, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. That just goes to show like the kind of dedication, the kind of determination, and how tough basketball players was back then. Because I mean, and even though he wasn't healthy, he was still getting beat up. Because remember, they had to go through Detroit a few of those years, and like in Detroit when they had that Bad Boys team, Larry Bird was the one who sent Isaiah Thomas and the Bad Boys home a couple years. Larry Bird won 3 championships. So in the 80s, yeah, in the 80s when Magic and Bird was doing their thing, like for a whole decade, either one of those teams was in the championship. It was either the Lakers was in there or or the Celtics was in the championship. That's just in the 80s. I mean, that's just how much those two teams dominated. Magic dominated in the West with the Lakers, and Bird dominated in the East with the Celtics, man. So yeah, man, I think I agree definitely with this statement that Shannon Sharp said, really just giving him his his flowers. And for Larry Bird to have 3 straight years, 3 consecutive MVPs. Oh man, that's cold. 3 straight. If that's not dominance, I don't know what is dominant. Three three consecutive MVPs. You know what I mean? So he won 3 consecutive MVPs. And when you win, the first year, if you win an MVP, you can sneak up on somebody. But then when you talk about winning 2 and 3, you're not catching people off guard. That's dominance. You're not catching nobody off guard. That's just straight dominance, and that's what Larry Bird did, man. He just dominated, and so I definitely agree with Shannon Sharp comments about Larry Bird, and so that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe, as I said earlier. Don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.